Hello and welcome to the Pole Position Podcast with Jamie Davies and Jack Price. And this weekend is the Canadian Grand Prix. And of course, it's the 7th round of the 2018 Formula One Championship. And, well, with Ricciardo, Vettel and Hamilton getting 2 wins each so far this season for Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes, it really is open. Who is going to win the 7th Grand Prix? Is it going to be either of them three, or is it going to be maybe Max Verstappen? Not Kimi Räikkönen. Come on, Kimi. We all know if you were leading, Vettel would somehow have to take the first spot before you cross the finish line. Sadly, Kimi, that's your Ferrari case. Jack Price, it's the Canadian Grand Prix. Now, this is going to be a lot more exciting, I feel, after the Monaco Grand Prix we just had.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it can't get any worse, really. In terms of the race, it can't get any worse because you talked about earlier the fact that people really are getting a bit outspoken and having their point of view on the Monaco Grand Prix and saying maybe it should be changed. And there are talks about maybe changing the layout of the track and finding different areas in the town, but at the end of the day, you said it right earlier. It's the Monaco Grand Prix. That's how it has always been. Let's not change it. Yes, the cars have got wider, so it's even harder to overtake now. But I still feel like this is the one race on the calendar of the year that maybe all the focus should be on the Saturday. And the fact that maybe all the teams should try and get to that pole position, because if they get pole position, they've effectively won the race. So
and you got to remember as well that the circuit is so tight.
Yeah.
One little slip. I mean, there was footage the other day, but this wasn't the one where Verstappen crashed. Amazingly, it was on the last chicane before you finish the lap, and Verstappen slow motion going past it. It's like that close, that close from the barrier all the time.
Well, the thing is that corner is so tight in terms of the back wheels as well. Because you can get the front right, but you can clip the back.
But you can lose your attention on the back the moment you've gone halfway through.
Exactly. So it's so much more difficult than I think people watching at home understand. It's such a demanding circuit, and I think if it's that one race of the year where you don't see much overtaking or don't see any at all unless there's an incident or something, then I think we've just got to let that go. I think all the other tracks, we see a decent amount of overtaking. We still complain like Australia still has issues. There are still a few tracks on there, but I think Monaco is the one that as a spectacle is more important than the race. The whole event of Monaco. You got the boats, you've got the motorhomes,
the swimming section,
the Red Bull, the Red Bull. Is it the station? What's it called? The Eco Station or whatever it's called. Yeah. Energy Centre, I think it's called, something like that. But all these little bits is what makes the Monaco Grand Prix. So I think changing it would probably be a sad thing to do, actually.
Yeah, it's been around for so long, and it is the greatest race of them all. The biggest challenge for them all. But anyway, let's talk about the Montreal Circuit. Now, of course, this is Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, a legend in F1, even though his son won a world championship and not him, Jacques Villeneuve. I've got no problems with him at all. It's funny, actually, when you go on forums on F1, no one likes Jacques Villeneuve. No one, even though he's one of the few who beat Michael Schumacher to the world championship. Yeah, no one likes him. But it's a circuit that could be interesting. It's an open circuit. Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari have all won races so far this year. It's going to be between them three again, I'd imagine, unless they all retire.
Yeah.
You never know. 6 cars to retire from all the teams, maybe. We'll find out. But it's another race where I'm not sure who could win this one, but surely for Red Bull, they need to, if there's any hope, they can try and get themselves really into this championship by winning again.
Yeah, and can I just say that what you just said there is what we wanted at the start of the season, where you literally just said, I don't know who's going to win this race. And that's what we've been asking for a long time. And people might still complain that it's only 3 teams out of, was it 10 or 9 or 9 on the grid? I'm trying to think out of the top of my head.
10.
So yeah, only 3, but that's 1 more than last year, and 2 more really than what we had when Mercedes dominated for the past, few years. So I think, it's such a big thing to not know what's going to happen, because F1 has been boring the last few years the fact that we know Mercedes are going to win, or Red Bull a few years ago with Vettel there were probably going to win the race. So to have it back now, where like you said, the three top drivers have all won two races this season. Out of the 6 races, is vital, and like you said, if Red Bull can sort of get their pace improved, and we said earlier on the actual show, Let's Talk Sports show, that Renault are bringing a package to this race where all the Renault team engines are getting an upgrade. So obviously Renault, Red Bull, and McLaren are all getting an engine upgrade. So
wow. We'll see
how much of an upgrade McLaren get or Red Bull get. It is.
Zach Brown will be knocking on their door.
Yeah, well, he's like, who are we going to go to? Oh, we can't go to Honda. We've burnt that bridge. But
Mercedes, no,
Mercedes don't want them. So
Ferrari, no. Where if you actually have some pride, you wouldn't go there.
So I think they're hoping that they get a big boost, because I think they need it for Fernando Alonso as well. We've been talking about him, testing in Le Mans, and when the Monaco Grand Prix was on, he could have been at Indy, and after he retired that race, I think he could have been thinking about, I could have been there, and giving that another go. So I think McLaren needs to need as much upgrade as possible. But in terms of the race, it's one of my favourites on the circuit. I think I like the way that there's good corners. It's flat out as well, and drivers are giving it everything. And we have seen incidents there. And one of the other reasons why I love it is because the best race ever that happened in F1 was there, and we know what we're talking about. We don't know what we're talking about here, but
it's not on my MacBook Air background.
It's not on
any
of your cover pictures.
No, but you've been on my profile.
I've been stalking you.
Yeah, I thought so. As you do.
But the Canada 2011, was probably there might be some other ones that people would say are the best, but for me that was the best race I've ever seen, and probably that's ever been in F1. Everything happened in that race, and I think there's always something special at the track, and let's hope this season that we get something like that. Maybe not a 6-hour race like we got in 2011,
no,
but hopefully something special on track.
Hey, it might rain.
Yeah,
it might rain.
We might get some commentary about the ducks in the on the turn 4.
They might come back after 7 years. They might see the rain and think
all their friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny because with Canada as well, it's funny how with Canada, that ever since Jacques Villeneuve, you think more would have come from that country in terms of motorsport, but we've only really had Lance Stroll since then, and he's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean the fan base is quite big over there.
I
think
is massive,
they enjoy the motorsport, of course.
I mean that circuit's been in the F1 calendar since '96.
Yeah, so it's big for them, but like you said, they haven't really had that driver, and we discussed Lance Stroll last week, and there wasn't much positive words to say about Lance Stroll.
No. Stroppy Stroll.
Yeah, that's one word. That's one word to use for him. One polite one, I'd say. But yeah, I think he needs to just. I think with this being his home race, I think we need to not hear him moaning. Just put your head down. It might be the worst car on the grid right now. But just put your head down and just focus on getting the best result, because you want the best result at your home Grand Prix. Every driver does. So just focus on that, not complain a long list of things that are wrong with the car, because that doesn't help the team, doesn't help the fans that support the team.
It's funny because we never had that when we had the likes of Caterham or HRT. At the when they were in F1, I mean, don't get me wrong, they were pointless from the start, but they never moaned about the car, did they? I think they signed up to.
Yeah,
what they
were there just to be there, I think.
Right,
in essence. But I understand from the point of view that Williams are sort of looked at as this great team. For the last 10 years, they haven't sort of been there. I mean, there was that year where Bottas and Massa were, up the top, and I remember Silverstone one year, I don't know if it was 2014 or something, they overtook all the drivers at the start.
Yeah.
They didn't win the race, I don't think, but
they were awesome.
But they were,
2014 was a good year,
and it was such a great time for Williams, and they looked like they'd on it. Mercedes power unit, they looked like they had everything. But like I said last week, I'm not sure what happened over the winter. They've got such a big group of people in there as well, though.
Since Monaco, they've had to say goodbye to their aerodynamic boss.
Yeah. He was only there a year and a bit, though, wasn't he? He left Ferrari. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah.
And then he's gone already.
He's gone. Yeah. What is going on there? I mean, the rumours that have come out in the last week, which are ridiculous. I wrote about it, but let's be honest, we write these things just to keep people reading about the sport, maybe, but I wasn't behind it at all. And that is Robert Kubica being linked to Toro Rosso. He's thinking of leaving Williams because of the disaster it's been. I mean, that's not going to happen, is it? Kubica to Toro Rosso?
No, I could see him going somewhere if they couldn't sort of guarantee him a seat, because I don't think they'd take Sorokin out. Well, I don't really think they'd take both of them out because they need the money from both of them. So I can't see him. I can't see Kubica going in. We want everyone in F1 sort of wants that, but we want Kubica to be in the F1 car, but I don't see it being at Williams as much as I'd like it, because Williams desperately need the money from both drivers. That's why they're there. Yeah, let's be honest. So I don't think he'd go to Toro Rosso as well. Although Brendan Hartley's got a bit of criticism. Yeah,
Marco. What's his name all of a sudden? I forgot his name. Mr. Marco. Helmut Marco. Or Dr. Helmut Marco if you're Christian Horner, because you have to call him that. We can get away with it here at Pole Position Podcast. You don't pay us a thing. But Dr. Helmut Marco. Doctor, Professor, Helmut Marco. Mr. Helmut Marco. Let's go with that. He said that it's been a bit displeasing. The words displeasing were used on Brendan Hartley.
That's not going to help you, is it?
He puts too much pressure on some of these drivers, I feel. I don't think Hartley's a bad driver. Mm-mm. I think Gasly's just more advanced, maybe.
Yeah.
Hartley's done other races since F1. He left F1 in 09.
Yeah, so he's trying to come to terms with a different car to what he left in as well. It's nowhere near the same cars that he was there. But I think Pierre Gasly got a bit of a lift, the racing he had in Bahrain, where he finished fourth.
Yeah.
That was obviously a huge lift for him and the team. And Hartley's had a couple of incidents. He crashed in Spain in practice or qualifying?
I think it was qualifying.
It might be qualifying, I think. Or practice free, and obviously that didn't help. He struggled the other day, and obviously crashed out in the end because Charles Leclerc hit him. But I think
should have got out of the way.
Yeah, just move. But I think that he's sort of being harshly treated. I think to get rid of him already would be a bit harsh, but I can't see him getting Kubica because, like you've stated, the Red Bull Junior program is there for a reason. So bringing somebody in that's nowhere near a program, and sorry Kubica, but nowhere near junior.
Yeah.
To bring them up, it's normally from the youth teams to Toro Rosso to Red Bull, and that's sort of how it goes, unless they don't. They can't get into Red Bull and then they go other ways. But I can't see Kubica going there. Somewhere else like Sauber or whoever. But I just can't see him going to somewhere like.
He's got
Toro
links
Rosso.
with Sauber as well. Of course, he won the Canadian Grand Prix for Sauber in 2008.
I think Kubica will be in F1 next season.
But you think he'll be an actual driver?
I think he'll be an actual driver next season, yeah. So I think he's trying to sort of...
Oh, I'm so excited you saying that.
Make some moves as to where he's going to be. I mean, if Williams get their act together, they could bring him in. He's got a bit of money. I wouldn't say he's got the money of Stroll and Sorokin.
He is the talent one, yeah.
But yeah, I think if you can try and balance the books, you bring one driver in for the money and you bring one driver in for the actual driving. So it would be Sorokin and Kubica for me, because I think Sorokin is sort of a better driver than Stroll. So.
And he's been outside of F1 a lot more recently, Sorokin. He was linked years ago, actually, I remember. But it's talking of the Red Bull program. I don't think he's under pressure. Some people may think so, and that is Mr. Max Verstappen. Big weekend for him, maybe in Canada. I think for him, he'd want to just finish as high as he can. We don't know what Red Bull are going to be like. We haven't seen the practice sessions yet. That's not until Friday. But he needs a better weekend than Monaco, doesn't he?
He does. He might brush the wall of champions.
Oh.
I can see him brushing it. I don't think he'll crash into it.
He's not a world champion, so he might be all right.
Yeah, well, I think he'll just try and give it a little nod to see what it feels like to just sort of hit the wall, but not too much. He needs a good weekend. If the Red Bull, like you discussed, has got the pace extra that we're hoping for, then of course he'll be up there. Ricciardo, of course, will be there as well, and hopefully them too. We haven't seen a Red Bull battle. Well, we have in Baku, but that didn't go very well. But we want a sort of a Red Bull battle that they're being fair and respectful, and they're fighting at the top. We want them at 1-2. We want fighting as hard as they can, and let's hope we get that. I think Max Verstappen, the people talking about Max Verstappen is just stupid.
And it is.
It really is.
He's so risky, but that's what an F1 driver normally does.
Yeah.
What did Ayrton Senna once say? If you go for the gap. No,
if you don't go for it, you're not supposed to be here.
You're not supposed to be here. That was it. Yeah.
Well, that's it. You only get so many chances, and the people that don't take it, they're out.
Sadly, for some drivers, they only get one chance.
Yeah. So and they've just tied him down into a deal, and they know what he's gonna. They know what he's gonna be. So I just think it's silly. Really, there might be some people that are just jealous.
And next year, he could be Red Bull's number one driver because Ricciardo might be out of Red Bull and another team.
Yeah,
so.
and I love Daniel Ricciardo. He's probably the best guy on the grid of making you laugh and everything. And if he goes, I think Red Bull have sort of got it covered to an extent though, because they've got Carlos Sainz.
Yes,
Carlos Sainz is there, and if he that he's obviously on loan to Renault at the minute. So
do you think Gasly? I mean, at this moment in time, that means Gasly would probably at least be at Toro Rosso for another season, if that's the case. What does he have to do to get the seat if Ricciardo leaves?
I think he just needs to keep doing what he's doing, really.
They're both really good drivers as well, aren't they? It's hard to pick between Sainz and Gasly at the moment, but Gasly, for me, has impressed me more this year than Sainz has. But Sainz was good last year. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. To be fair, that's what Christian Horner wants, though. Because if Ricciardo tells him, I'm going, it's like, okay, but I've got Gasly and Sainz competing for this drive, and both of them are talented. So either Gasly and Verstappen or Sainz and Verstappen is still a major lineup for Red Bull next season. And I'm sure we've said this a couple of weeks ago, is that if Verstappen wasn't there, Gasly and Sainz together is still a great team in itself. Yeah. So, obviously Daniel Ricciardo leaving would be a big thing for Red Bull, but in terms of who they got as sort of cover, I think they've got it covered.
Talking of the Red Bull drivers still, Jacques Villeneuve said last week that Max Verstappen is worse than Daniel Ricciardo, basically saying the Australian is better than the Dutchman. I mean, it's funny because I posted that to loads of Formula One groups, fan groups on Facebook and all that, and they all actually said, you know what, for once Jacques Villeneuve is actually talking some sense. Where is this argument even coming from the 97 world champion? Because
he's just trying to stir the pot, isn't he?
I just feel like he's still trying to be relevant.
He's just trying to stir it up a little bit, I think, because I think that's the one team at the top that we've said for many years now, but that's the one team at the top where them two are basically the joint number one driver.
Just as good as each other.
So I think all the others, we know which ones are 1 and 2 in the drivers, in the teams. And Red Bull are the one where you can't really decide which one is better. So I think everyone just has their points of view. I think Max Verstappen is more of a risk taker. Not saying Daniel Ricciardo isn't, but when Daniel Ricciardo does take a risk, he does sort of complete the job. And Max Verstappen is still trying to learn the fact that you have to take risks. Of course you can. Of course you do. But you need to make sure that you come out unscathed. And he's still trying to learn that. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't really be able to answer that of who's the best. And I think that's a good thing.
I just think a lot of people have been criticising Verstappen a lot over the last week. And I just think last year Verstappen won more races than Ricciardo.
Last year they would have said Verstappen was better.
Yeah, exactly. Because when Verstappen won Malaysia, that was a great win. He overtook
he controlled the
Hamilton,
Mexican Grand Prix as well.
Controlled the Mexican Grand Prix. Might have been a bit of help because of Hamilton having a bad start and all that, but that doesn't matter. Won more races than Ricciardo. So there's no gap between them. There really isn't. And it's a shame they smashed into each other in Azerbaijan, but it created a very exciting race at the end. So we can't argue with that either. So keep it up. More of that, please, Mr. Verstappen and Ricciardo. Don't do that. Don't do that. You might lose your contracts. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Dr. Marco won't be very happy with
that. No. I'd imagine even when Vettel won his 4th world championship in a row, Dr. Helmut Marko said, you could have been a second quicker. Yeah. Oh, what do I have to do to impress you? I've won you 4 world championships in a row. I'm making this up.
I'm off to Ferrari.
I'm off to Ferrari, and that's what happened. He could have stayed at the best team. No, they're not anymore. They're still up there. They're Red Bull. You got to hand it to them. But let's just say they put more money in their energy drink than their F1 team? I checked the fundings. Anyway, we'll talk about other transfer rumours. I make it sound like it's football, but I guess you could call that. Lewis Hamilton. I don't know why this is a thing either.
I'm worried now because I don't know. I really don't know what to say about this.
I know, and I feel like what a waste, because if he does do this, if you haven't heard, apparently Lewis Hamilton wants to start up a music career. Apparently he's actually working on something, but when you've got so much time in between weekends and you've got the money to produce your own music, and
was he doing it with Neymar or something?
I think he was. Oh god, that's even worse. Neymar can only just kick a football around. I mean, what else can he do?
Perhaps they both have great singing voices. I've never heard Hamilton sing before.
Well, it'd be a bit awkward. Hamilton knocking on Nicole Scherzinger's front door and like, I need your help.
Can I have some advice?
Yeah, and then Dimitrov walks in. It's like, oh, you're going out with that guy now, are you?
Awkward.
So from an F1 driver to tennis players, you love your athletes, don't you, Nicole Scherzinger? What a legend. But he is apparently, according to David Coulthard, he said to the International Business Times, I don't know if that's a reliable source, apparently he told them that he could see Lewis Hamilton leaving at the end of the 2020 season. That's when the new rules come in, all this stuff. And I hope that's not the case, because that means Hamilton will need to win this year and the next 2 seasons after to level with Michael Schumacher. This guy's got potential being the best driver of F1.
Yeah, I think he's obviously talking about this music thing, and I think he wants to obviously continue with F1, but he wants to look at other projects. So when he finishes, he's got fashion lines now as well, and he's got
doing David Beckham basically.
Yeah, he's branching out to try and further his career after F1, and I see the reason to do that, and I still see him being in F1. I think obviously the rule changes are massive. I think that's why Mark Webber left before the electric sort of energy thing came in, because he couldn't be bothered with that. So I think he'll obviously have a look at it and see, do I want to continue with this? And I think his contract will probably be till then, this new one that he hasn't even signed yet. He'll probably sign it until then, and then have a look and see whether he's interested or not. But, I want him to sort of, although I'm not his biggest fan, I'd like him to sort of try and equal Michael Schumacher's record. But I don't want it to be boring that he has to win the next 3 years.
If it was him against Vettel all the way, maybe.
Yeah, but the fact that it'll be a little bit boring if he wins the next 3 years. And like we said, we want Ricciardo, we want Verstappen, we want all these drivers to be world champions.
And Perez.
You want Perez.
Alonso.
Well, that would be even better, wouldn't it? But so to him to win the next 3 years, it'd be a little bit boring for the sport, I think. But we'll see. I mean, if he wants to do a bit of singing, great. Maybe that'll be the theme song for F1 in a couple of years' time. His EP.
Well, I don't know. The new F1 theme tune is a good one. He is quite American though, Hamilton. So he's probably going to come out with the same song and think, oh wait, that's already been done.
Yeah, it'll just put featuring Lewis Hamilton on it.
Yeah, Al H 44. That's what he'll say. He'll call himself that. And he'll always be 44th in the charts. Ha ha! Really doing well, aren't you? Could have been number 1 in F1 instead. I don't know where I'm going with this.
But yeah, I mean, it's up to him. If he wants to do that, that's great. But if he can sort of do it while he's in F1 for the sport, that's even better, because we want him to try and, even if he doesn't break that record, we want him to try and get there. And if he retires before Vettel, Vettel's got more chance of maybe beating Hamilton in terms of how many they've won between each other, because they're the best of their generation, and they obviously probably want to end it beating the other one. So if Hamilton retires and Vettel has the chance to overtake him, then would Hamilton want to do that? Would he want to give Vettel the chance to beat him in World Championships? Who knows? But we've got a long time to think about that.
And his teammate Valtteri Bottas, apparently he's been urging him to sign the contract, and Hamilton's probably responded to his text like, well, have you signed it yet? No. Well, you see, I'm the favourite.
Sign it together.
Sign it together on the same day. I can imagine like Hamilton go, you were about to sign it. I wasn't. Yes, you were. You were about to sign it without me even doing mine.
That program, Golden Balls, do you remember?
Yeah.
Where they used to split and steal. I can take all the money.
Yeah. One of them has contract or no contract. It's like, I promise you, I'm gonna sign the
gonna sign
contract.
it.
Yeah. But haven't I heard you're linked to Ferrari? I promise you, I'm going to sign it.
It just says Ferrari on it.
You just see. What's his name? The boss of Ferrari.
Arriva Bene.
Yeah, it'd be like he'd be laughing in the background somewhere.
But yeah, I think Hamilton will want Bottas there because that's such a stable team now.
They've just got on with it, haven't they? I think Bottas has accepted it, but he knows he's at a team where if I can prove myself, I mean, I know this sounds daft, but maybe Bottas will never be a world champion. But you look at the drivers like Rubens Barrichello who gave up it for Michael Schumacher, but they still end up winning races. They still get that glory that they've always worked
constructors
for.
And
they make, let's be honest, their contracts are very good as well. In terms of money, not for how long, but money is a very good way of them paying the bills. You could pay the bills. Yeah, that's a worry.
What bills?
Yeah, what bills? But surely that's one option in secondary drivers these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think they both want each other to sign because they know that the team is sort of strong. You know, if Hamilton signs a Bottas, they decide to leave Bottas and they bring somebody else in like a Ricciardo or something like that. You know, he's not going to be as happy because he knows that he's got to. I don't want to say harsh on Bottas, but he knows he's going to have to go a next level to be sure as the number one driver. I mean, he'll get paid as the number one driver, more than Ricciardo, I expect. But Ricciardo will give him a run for his money. And
yes.
I'm not saying Bottas doesn't, but I'm saying that we know that Bottas is the second driver in that team.
Ricciardo might not smile as much as he used to.
No, but I think Ricciardo will definitely give him a run for his money, and like sort of what Ricciardo did to Vettel at Red Bull. You know, they had that fight, and then Vettel suddenly decided, I want to jump ship and go to Ferrari, where I know Kimi will just give me an easy time.
Yeah, Vettel doesn't like it, does he? But yet again, he always basically threw Mark Webber in the toilet.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, the whole team did. I love it how when Mark Webber retired, he did his lap. And then Christian Horner said, you should be very proud of what you've done. And then Mark Webber's like, what? Basically not giving me the world championship, making me lose it.
You just, I don't want to say it, but you just let me down, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they did.
It was all Vettel, wasn't it?
It was all Vettel,
yeah, which was a shame.
What did he say? Not bad for a number 2 driver. Yeah. He won a race. That was amazing. Helmut Marko didn't say a word apparently.
No, I didn't think they got on, did they?
They didn't
well,
no.
But
no.
Yeah, that was another reason not to like him because I love Mark Webber.
Yeah.
He was such a. He just says it. He just said it how it was. And
Helmut Marko is the worst guy on the Pole Position podcast. He is our villain.
Sorry, Helmut.
Yep, you've heard that now. Helmut.
Sorry, and
it'll be awkward when we write to Red Bull and say, "Can we have an interview on members?" Helmut Marko will be like, "No, I don't want them here."
Yeah. We'll have to send somebody else.
Yeah,
Adam.
Adam, he knows his F1.
Adam, if you want to go, just ask him a few questions. But also, Force India's chairman's left as well, isn't he?
He has, yes. But I don't think it's bad news for the team, really. I think it's more he's got other things going on.
Yeah,
he's been
just announced it to know.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that doesn't ruin the team's future because they have been a very good, stable team. They've been up there. They started out in 2008 or 7. They were the worst team on the grid at that time, but they've improved. You know, they've actually stuck with the project. You know, we've had loads of teams come in and then they're gone after 2 to 3 years. Jaguar, HRT, Marussia. Sadly, Marussia were, in my eyes, a good team.
But they were looking good, weren't they, for that season?
They
as
were,
well,
and they were good for F1. You know, you if you can't make, you know, if you're not in the Red Bull program, where can you go? It is Marussia in my eyes was one of those, and Jules Bianchi can. Sadly, he's not around anymore. He can vouch for that team. They got him his first points, so it's a shame. But another rumour, this was our last one, don't worry. Fernando Alonso's final year in F1 could be this year. Not next year, this year. Now, there's links now. I've seen that McLaren are thinking of bringing out an IndyCar team. Sorry, joining an IndyCar team for next year. Alonso apparently... is apparently not happy, according to Carlos Sainz's dad. Now, we know Carlos Sainz Jr. is good friends with Fernando Alonso, so that's not a bad source, you could say. But Fernando Alonso, could this be his final year in F1 and move to IndyCar?
Well, haven't we been talking about Fernando Alonso's future for many years now, since he joined McLaren and since they had that, you know, they've had that issue. And yes, they're better, and he has scored in every single race bar last race out in Monaco where he had that issue. So they are getting points now, but it's not just about getting points for Alonso. You know, for about 4 years now, he's wanted that World Championship again.
Yeah,
and
he's not even had a race win in 5 years.
No, he just hasn't got it. So you know, we saw Jenson Button bow out because he knew that it wasn't going to get any better, and he got bored of it. So you know, could that be the same for Fernando Alonso? I mean, the issue is with McLaren is that if Fernando Alonso goes, there's already talk about Stoffel Van Dorn not performing. What?
And then there's Norris.
What happens to that team?
And
really?
Lando Norris will get thrown in. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and he might not be ready. I mean, he looks like he could.
He's a confident young man from what I've seen.
But you're throwing him in the deep end there, aren't you? So yeah, I mean, McLaren obviously are desperate for him to stay. But if he can't stay in F1, if they can create a sort of partnership for Indy, then they still sort of have him in the have him in the rights. Books. They can use him for sponsor events. They can use him for advertising. So he'll still be around. So I think if they can't have him in F1, they'll certainly try and keep him in IndyCar as well. And that'll be quite interesting to see if McLaren did that.
It's weird because Jenson Button is a lot happier now since he left F1.
Yeah,
and Jenson Button's been in the same period than Alonso. Alonso came in 2001, I think. For Minardi, I can't even remember who his first team was. Was it Minardi? I
think it was Minardi.
It might be. And 2000 was when Jenson Button came in. They've been in F1 for the same amount of time pretty much now. So I remember you texted me the other day, and my dad said to me the other day, actually, he said maybe he's just bored of it. Maybe he just wants a new challenge because he's young enough to still try out other series. He's won a world championship or two at F1.
Mm-hmm. He still wants that triple crown, doesn't he?
He wants Indy 500 and Le Mans.
He's already won Monaco, hasn't he? So, yeah, I mean, that's certainly still there. He's been talking about that for a few years now, and maybe he is getting bored about it. And to be fair,
you blame him?
It hurts me, but wouldn't you be bored? Just driving around, getting 10th or 7th is their best at the minute.
Yeah,
that's just you're just getting a bit tired of it now, and I can see why he's getting a bit tired of it. And he's probably thinking every year they tell me we're getting better. We are getting better, but it's probably going to be 10 years until they're going to win a race, and I'm not going to be here to see that.
Well, Jenson Button actually said the other day he's been annoyed about how McLaren have promised him a championship-winning car at the start of the year, and they've empty promises again. Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah, but they've sort of that's sort of what has happened for the last few years. They thought that with Honda. Every year, every term they thought, oh, we're going to be better, and it just got worse and worse. And obviously, it's going to take time for them and Renault to sort of mold to become a winning team. So, I mean, if Fernando leaves, it'll be a shame for the sport because, you look at it and you've got Hamilton, Vettel, and Alonso are sort of the older guys now in the team, and we're obviously going to be losing them and slowly. And if Alonso goes this year, it will be a big miss because he's one of the drivers I grew up with, and to be fair, he's probably one of the best drivers that F1's ever had, and just the way his ability has been and the way he was able to put that car around the circuit. So he will be missed if he does decide to leave. But if he does, there's a great adventure for him next season in IndyCar if he decides.
Absolutely. And finally, it's the Canadian Grand Prix, as we mentioned. Who is your top three? Who's going to come first, second, and third on Sunday?
It all depends. It all depends on Red Bull. I think the other two we already know are going to be pretty fast, so Ferrari and Mercedes, and it all depends on where Red Bull are going to be. If Red Bull are going to be looking tasty, then I'd like to see them winning between Verstappen or Ricciardo. I'd like to see both of them on the podium. That would be good actually. See the two drivers on there, but I still see Mercedes being there. So depending on if Red Bull are going to be good, I'd like to see Ricciardo win the race. I think Hamilton will come second, and then if Verstappen doesn't hit the wall of champions, I'd like to say he comes third. But I told you he's not a world champion; he'll be fine. Well, yeah, but I still think Ferrari will give him a run for their money to try and get that third place. So that's my top three. Hopefully, it all depends on Red Bull. Hopefully, Vettel, Raikkonen, Alonso, and Hamilton, the world champions of today in F1, will not go into the wall. No. We'll find out. We don't want Alonso going in there because he'll just walk away and won't come back for the rest of the season. He'll have enough. Hey, if Schumacher could crash into it, anyone can. He did that in '99 and he left it really badly. And that was the same race where Jack Villeneuve did it and Damon Hill.
3 great world champions.
Just turn in.
Yeah, well, two great world champions. No, I'm joking. I am only joking, Jack. She won it fair and square. My brother's a big fan of Jack Villeneuve. And I posted on his Facebook the other day saying, look at what Jack Villeneuve's saying now, Christopher. He's lost the plot. And then he said to me, I think he'd be great coming back to F1. And that's when I was just like, right, I'm gone, Chris. You can drink that pint on your own. You can leave it there.
I'm leaving.
Right. Anyway, thank you very much, Jack, as
You're
always.
welcome.
Of course, we're both on Sports Keeda now. High five.
Hey.
I mean, I don't know.
No,
That was terrible. Proper high five. There we go. But yes, you can follow our stuff on Sports Keeda and your Jack Price blog, or you're not allowed anymore.
Well, no, you can say it, but you're the only one that remembers the name of it. So
It's Jack Price, but I don't know
.com.
if it's .com or
It is. It's jackprice.com.
There you
so
go.
Check that out, yeah.
There you go. I'm not his manager. You think I was?
No, well, you are, but I'm not paying him.
Yeah. It's called free chat. He won't talk to me otherwise. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Remember, we'll be back for the review of the Canadian Grand Prix on the Pole Position podcast, and you can watch more of our videos by simply subscribing to Let's Talk Sport. Thank you, and see you later.